Hello YouTube Infinite Match Ray community, Gandalf here. We are on day 26 on the server 108 account, and I thought I'd take some time today to talk about what the game progression really is like. I see a lot of comment and discussion in global chat. I've seen some comments on my videos, in particularly around hero strength and tier list, whatnot. What I'll say is, having played the game now almost a month on a brand new account, it is a big learning experience to see what is the new player experience really like now compared to what it was 2 years ago. I'll say the division system has definitely created this artificial sense of safety and game progression that allows you to feel like, hey, I'm really doing well in the game. Um, what I'm about to talk about today hopefully won't be discouraging for a lot of players. I think overall it is healthy for a game to really be able to break up the new players and the old players, because it's really difficult to put a gacha game onto even playing field and give that new player experience where they have the sense of competition and progression without being slammed in the face by big old krakens and whales where you have no chance of competing against them. You notice the setup today. I literally have both accounts side by side. And I'm going to talk about where in the game where new players can really take advantage, where they can kind of play a toe-to-toe with seasoned players in terms of building up your account. And then I'll talk about, where are perhaps some of the biggest gaps where you probably won't be able to overcome. And, some clothing thoughts around, as you progress as a relatively new player or someone who's into the game maybe 6 to the 12-month period of time, what can you potentially do as you get ready for eventually landing in the ultimate division, which to some, especially if you're free to play, I feel like you're going to get a rude awakening the moment you hit ultimate division and realize how fierce the competition might be. So with that, let's get started. First of all, I would say that any time gated content is something that you're going to have a lot of challenge catching up to. But it's not the biggest deal in the world. I would say what is the big opportunity is new players or newer players, relatively speaking, can achieve the same things as a seasoned old account with far less spending to get to the same results. So I guess that's inflation or I guess diminishing, or I guess lower cost of investment as gacha games run on, and that's usually generally true for most games out there. So let's get started. We'll go through the different aspects of the game where things are going to be on equal terms. First of all, emblems. Okay, emblems is obviously everyone's. It's easy to cap out. This is going to be same for new and seasoned players. In the blessing department, the blessing system has gone under a massive overhaul. Even if you're starting out now, right? And I feel like this is a place where new players can really catch up. And Endless Cloister. Okay. Here, I'm going to show Endless Cloister over here as well on the main account, where I don't think has anybody actually beat 39 yet. No, nobody still beat 30. We need a really broken poison hero to make this happen. But 38 is what people are farming, and you can see the chance of getting a mythic is like 2%. Legendary is 4.6%. In a typical week, if you do all of your dailies, it is 100 keys. So you're expecting 2 mythics a week. However, the chance of getting something good as well is 6%. Or let's just say B mythic is decent. That's still like 25%. And then there's so many different type of stats you can get. So the chance of you getting something decent, from this drop, it's all RNG really, right? 2% chance versus, and as a brand new player, you can see I cleared up to stage. I can probably do stage 22 now. But let's just say, you're only at 21. What's the evening gap is everybody is going to get a chance of getting the random blessing chest, season or old, every 50 keys. So that's 2 guarantee ones. You also get the progression one here. Plus having access to, I guess we had the combat battle pass. I'm surprised the combat battle pass hasn't come back yet. Maybe it's a once a month thing. But when we look at our battle passes, I don't know if let me just check if we have mythics in here. But I know it was in the combat one, and that was a pick. Now when things are on sale, usually they're much cheaper now. So you can get like a mythic choice A for around $20 to $30. So blessings is a place where new players can definitely catch up with relative ease, and you have access to them very early on. So you could be stacking like legendary, or actually, since it's bought, for the most part, you can be stacking mythics for some of the most impactful heroes. So here you can see on the on the blessings here, like having some, I don't think I have that many mythic A's in here, right? That are actually decent. Most of them are like for speed. In terms of poison burn damage, there aren't that many. These are all bots. The chance of you farming them is very low. The costs have gone down drastically over time in terms of the cost of purchasing them from the shops. So this is a place where new players, if you do invest into a few key heroes, you like your core carry of your team, or your core enablers, like with speed, that's a place where you can drop a little bit and be able to compete on that even terms. Auras, unfortunately, is a mechanic that's going to take a lot more time to farm. For the most part, people don't buy a lot of faction tokens, and buying faction tokens to farm these are expensive. What I would say is what has changed over time. So here you can see on this account, if we go over to Aura overview, you can see how old Kraken accounts are like stacked with maxed out legendary auras. They aren't mostly farmed. And what I'll say, for the first 6 to 12 months of the game, they've been very expensive. Either to farm or just takes a lot of time to get enough tokens. Things have gotten a lot more different now that, for example, even in things like Fair Arena, if you really focus, if we look at the reward for it, I believe, and from a ranking perspective, when you finish the season, and this is something available for all players, even if you're brand new, right? You're going to be getting these rune selection chests. As long as you finish in the top 100, I believe, you get a chest, right? Not saying it's easy to finish in the top 100, but if you really focus on your teams, don't skip, or get the proper setup, finishing the top 100 with consistency might be possible. War of Thrones, I believe, is another place where this, within your division, the first tier detail rewards from a ranking perspective. Whoops. I think it's similar. Let's just quickly compare. I do believe this is also another aspect of the game where they have made it so that regardless of the zone and division, it's the same, right? First promotional reward every 2 months, it's the same. If you're starting out versus in a seasoned division, it's the same. And the settlement rewards are a little bit better in the ultimate division versus the new division, but it's so much easier to get into Ember, right? Like we are now in Prince, and you can see there's like literally pretty much every player who actually is in here gets promoted. Of course, in the ultimate division, you're going to need to be battling it throughout, which is going to be very difficult. So that's what I'll say about auras is, of course, they've also gotten much cheaper to purchase. Um, these chests used to run a lot more expensive. Now these chests are usually they're given out throughout all sorts of PvP events. And when you purchase them, they average out to like anywhere around like $5 to $7 a chest for selection, which is far more efficient than, of course, trying to use gems or whatnot to buy those tickets to farm them. So faction bis, now it's more about getting the tokens to level up your aura, less so about farming enough tokens to create the auras. That's what I would say. This is something where newer players are gonna struggle a while to get up to 30. Once you get up to 30, really, that's where majority of the farming happens. As opposed to here you can see faction of bits, like everything's maxed out. So farming at 30 is far more efficient. But even that, it's just 10% per round. So still, you get about, I think, what, 64 tokens a week, right? So if you think about legendary, even if you round it all up, you're looking at like 10 to 15 maybe max legendary aura from farming, while you're going to be getting way more chests. Like, so you can see this is a part where newer players are going to be, again, being able to catch up a lot easier, and you can buy your way through to get to the auras. Echo is also content that's still, I'll say, it's considered relatively new. From an Echo perspective, you can see on this account there is a ton of echoes. Of course, new accounts, not much. Echoes are coming, the cost of echoes are also coming down. And really, you get a lot more selection choice chests now as part of bundles and stuff. Used to be, you really would just be summoning through them, and it'll cost you hundreds of dollars, especially on release, to get multiple copies. Now, I think, if there are specific ones you're really targeting, the cost of them went down to like to anywhere between $30 to $50, depending on what kind of promo packs you're looking at. So having access to them is a lot easier. You don't have to always wait. For example, when they're right on the banner, there are so many selection chests I have. I think I got one right now that I haven't even opened yet. And you get some of them through like these massive rebate packs. You can see I like with this rebate pack, like we're getting like 2 right here. Tomorrow I get my $100 vulture back, but in here there was that selection echo. So there's a lot of special deals that are helping the new players catch up, right? Talking beyond the echoes, exclusive, this is the part where I'll say summons and exclusives is the one that's going to be a lot more difficult. The reason I say that, the hero pool is massive, and here we can kind of see the sanctuary difference. I do believe as a player, so this account is 28 days. If we pace ourselves out, the max sanctuary, hopefully they don't increase it any more than 8. I feel like even the interface will look really ugly if they unlock it even further. What I'll say is, I guess there's a new faction coming, so I guess this will be going up just a little bit more. But I think with reasonable amount of summons and farming, in a year you will be close to maxing it out. Here you can see I have not really purchased wishes in particular. I haven't like spent to get wishes. I still have a ton. The amount of summons they give you in this game now for food, moreover, now Dragon Cliff, 5 double every week. This makes filling up your sanctuary a lot more cheaper than before. Like, it used to be really slow. Now I would think a new player, by the time they hit to Ultimate Division, your sanctuary really needs to be maxed out. Here we can see how big of a stat difference we're kind of seeing. I'm just going to put it on the screen this way, side by side, so you can quickly compare how big some of these differences are. And really, we're talking about massive percentage differences, right? We're like 50% HP, 50% attack, 50% defense. These are massive stats amount. Like, a lot of the newer players are wondering, like, how on earth am I going to hit like 250% effective hit? Well, 50 of it comes from your sanctuary already. That's something that you don't have. And that's why also effective resistance, all of that is missing. And this is just the first half of the sanctuary. So as you simply play, like you could be like, I'm copying these teams. Why aren't these teams working? Because certain heroes are far more stats hungry than others. And this is maybe an opportunity for me to quickly then go talk about, a lot of the tier list for content creator that we use our own account for. The experience we have is very different from the new player base because you're not struggling to hit things like effective hit or effective res, or like your CCs are not landing, your dots are not landing. That makes certain heroes stronger or weaker, especially early game. So I'll give you a few tips and tricks on how to spot that in the hero description very shortly. But for many of you that, as a new player, you probably wouldn't be dreaming of starting to fill out your incarnated sanctuary anytime soon. And I'll just say incarnated sanctuaries, I don't even know if I can actually, I don't even think it's unlocked, right? Yeah, it's not even unlocked for me at this point. This is unlocked when you get your first E5. And trying to get E5s and trying to feed it through using legendary eyes obviously will be very expensive, and that's not something that I would recommend to anyone, nor should you even try to attempt to do that. This is just purely from dupes from summoning. It's far more easier as a Kraken and whale. So here you can see, but even you don't have to be a Kraken or whale. Like once you, but it will be a really long time for you to max out E5 on everything. Again, you still have some of the newer heroes that will be coming through, but for the most part, once everything's E5, it becomes relatively easy to get dupes. But you're still looking at a lot of summons, because if you think about it, Incarnate Sanctuary, if every one is 100 points, this is 276 dupes of legendaries. Typically, just playing the game, we get about maybe 15, 16, or maybe 15. Oh, I think 10 to 15 is a reasonable range, I think, of with moderate spending, like not purposefully buying packs, right? Not purposefully buying packs. Looking at your wishes here, like this is about maybe 2 weeks of savings, maybe. So in a month, you're looking at about 10 legendaries. So a year of dupes, assuming everything's duped, that's only 120. So as a brand new player, like this is not something you can aim. This is something older players will forever have advantage over. And let's quickly take a look at what kind of stats these give, right? One of the big ones in here is drop rates. They're going to have better equipment drop rates. Like when I'm farming over here, and of course seasoned players are going to be farming up here in stage 40 pretty much everything. But what's also important is the margin of improvement on gear gets less and less over time. We all have access to purchase gear, and you can see that on my new account. Really, some of the best sets is not farmed anymore, right? Devouring set, you can't farm it anywhere. But this is like, I got relatively lucky on this one. Like most of the subs are really good. I'll be using this until the end of time. Like this one is probably good enough to max out to level 20, right? So given, as much as older players going to have advantage farming, which means equipping some of the newer heroes will be easier. But some of the best sets, like they're all bought. Like same thing on this account as well. Like some of the best gear over time, it's still going to be purchase gear, right? For the most part, you could craft it, but it's limited. First aid set, you're getting free first aid set and tenacity set one apiece now through the War of Throne and Fair Arena, which means all players have access to it right away. It's really easy to get some of these free pieces going. Purchasing them also have gotten the costs have gotten down drastically. Look out for the combat battle pass. It's a really good deal. Now I think about it, like with the sets you're given in there, along with other things on Blessing, which will help you catch up tremendously. And these are the places where, again, like I think what you've noticed, the trend here and the pattern from what I'm saying is for newer players and the old season players, just because all of these discounted packs are getting so much cheaper, like $20,000 or $10,000 spent by a Kraken. Like the account over here on the left hand side, I was saying the first year of gameplay, it probably spent up to $50,000 in the first year. But if you're starting out to get to the same level of power or whatever, you can probably do that in a fifth of the cost, like respectively speaking, right? Like if you are talking about an account that invested 5,000, you just need 1,000 now over a period of a year to get to someone who accomplished that with $5,000. So just because things have gotten cheaper, right? But what you also have to keep in mind that what you have as a new player accessible to you, existing Kraken or Whale also have access to the same discounted deals. Of course, the marginal benefit for their account is a lot less than you because you have a lot more room to gain. From that perspective, on a new account, the all these things, it's sort of like you can do leap and bounds much faster with investment. So that's kind of about, we talked about exclusives around all the things around the massive stats. Also, sorry, I think I forgot to mention the other part is and Incarnate Sanctuary, again, for a new player, this is not something you should pursue. But just keep in mind, there is a lot of extra stats hidden down here that's combat related. And there's more at the top, which is not that bad. I think the key breaking point, I think, is around 21,000 is probably here. The attacker piercing one, this one's huge. That's ignoring like another 10% defense for direct damage dealers. But if you look at it, right, 20% piercing base, that's huge. A lot of your support need effective hit. That's another 20%. So plus the other ones, you're starting out with like, what is it, 70 now? So effective hit is 50 here, right? So we're talking about 70% effective hit from just for all of your support heroes, right? And then, of course, for a seasoned player, and this is something actually easier to grind out as well. The arena part, you can grind out through arena event, and I highly recommend you start grinding it out early, especially when the competition is low and you're on account that can progress relatively quickly. This is a decent amount of stats that you can get. While here you can see as a newer player, I am definitely a lot less on this from an overview perspective, so you can see it side by side to see the difference. It's not big difference, but being able to max this out early definitely will help, especially in the speed department, right? Early on, like it's all about speed early on PvP. So being able to max out, you can see I'm just working on speed for all of my, for the most part, because that's the most influential early game. Whether it's PvE or PvP, it's about getting that, those buffs off early ahead of your enemy. On the Mark talent, this is something that's going to be taking a really long time. Whales season, well, it's completely time gated. So older accounts are just straight up going to have this advantage. But the size of these buffs are similar to the arena ones. And you can see that this is something you can get to all level 20 relatively quickly, I would say, in maybe about 3 months of gameplay. For pretty much everything. I think 3 to 4 month mark, you should be able to get all 20. The improvement from 20 to 30 will take a really long time to finish. You can see that even on an account that's 2 years old, it's still missing a lot to 30, right? But getting to that 20 wouldn't be too difficult. And of course, from a prioritization perspective, I will always say, your level ones are actually most stat efficient. Then maybe go into your level 3 focus, like on your crit, effective hit, whatever you need. The percentage other than the speed one is the last thing you want to focus on. So always prioritize speed. After you get the speed to 30, then do these ones on the left hand side, and then pick, crit or effective or whatever you need. The ones in the middle, the remaining here, HP, defense, and attack percentages, is the least for your return. Okay, so we covered that. The last part is breakthrough. Breakthrough is completely new. So, and what's really nice about this is if you actually look at my rewards, I'm not sure right now if it's a server or zone locked. I'm rank 5 right now. Historically, like I've been getting like anywhere between top 10 to top 20 consistently, and my pace of breakthrough has been very similar to the Kraken account. So this is an opportunity where you can take advantage of this new feature. So any new content that's rolling out, I think, of course, the Kraken account is going to have more advantage to it. So you can see here, Planar Rift, it's continuing to push through like to 180, while here you can see on my side, I am hard stuck on 89 for everything just because it's how difficult it is. On the dungeon here, from a daily perspective, even though I'm on stage 2, but the ranking is going to be server based. So your ranking rewards, right? Yes, they're doing like 8 bill of damage, but doesn't matter. The ranking rewards today, top 1. Okay, you're going to be a little bit less from a division perspective, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to be falling behind too much, right? I guess, yeah, it makes more sense that we get a lot less in the novice divisions because it's much easier, and of course, there's a lot more progression to be made on an older account. But from a ranking perspective, I mean, at least we have access to this relatively quickly, which is good to see. Okay. So we talked about breakthrough. Now we talk about pets. Pets seems to be the cost of getting them is about the same. From a progression perspective, we can quickly compare here in terms of Purgatory of 7 Sins. For a seasoned player, getting to all 25 seems to be where things are at right now. Gotta claim them, make sure they don't overfill. But as I explained in previous videos, before the introduction of the Spirit Beast coins, you're probably expected to get only one copy of the giant dragon in a year, and mostly will be coming from the ultimate trial, getting up to stage, and usually I do about between 3.2 to 6.4 bill damage here. You look at this reward tier versus what I'm doing over here on the other account right now, and for a new account, I guess, like everybody's actually on the same ranking system, but here I'm getting like 1 shard versus, so don't expect to get this. Most of the pets are bought. It's very PV, pay to win content, the Spirit Beasts, and I will say they're about 10 to 15% more expensive than limited heroes. I would definitely pick limited hero in terms of their impact on the game far more than Spirit Beast, despite the fact that Spirit Beast could probably be used on every single team. So there's reason to justify to say that, once you fully invest in one, it's really strong. But getting to a level of 60 Spirit Beast takes about $700 to $800, which is like two limited E3 heroes. And I will say, early on, even if you get like a level 5 Bambi. I don't know. I still feel like, and which is like having a consistently 6th slot on your hero. I would rather pick 2 more impactful limited heroes, E3 them, and I think they'll be more impactful for your any PvE or PvP content than a Bambi. So do invest in your limited hero before you go over there. So, with that, we're talking about limited heroes next. This is the part where nothing has really power crept these heroes. And this is where also your experience as a newer player versus a seasoned player will be very different. Now, from a tier list perspective of all of that, some of these are a lot more stats hungry to make them really good, as opposed to on some of the, I guess, newer account where you don't have the stats to support these heroes, they won't feel as impactful. So, for example, a hero like Beatrix require a lot of effect hit, like 250 effective hit to really benefit from her kit. You're not going to get that kind of effective hit on a new account, just because most of that come from your sanctuary, and you just simply don't have that early on. Or a hero like Jingle Bell, where you need a lot of crit damage and attack, and you ideally want that on a devouring set. Here you can see my Jingle Bell. You probably won't be able to achieve these kind of stats on the devouring set anytime soon. Right, here's just the equipment, just so that you can see it's full mythic gear over here, but with really good sub rolls, right? Like on some of these, look, it's pretty much, with the exception of mastery. Okay, so that one, but the rolls are relatively high. Here, this is pretty much a perfect piece in terms of subs for what you need. Like, it will be a really long time before you can really take advantage of stats like this. And of course, these heroes are heavily investment required. Like, you look at the Echo, you look at the auras. Like, this is, you need to really fully stack your hyper carry basically in your PvE teams or PvP teams. But to achieve some of these stats, it's a lot more heavy, a lot more challenging. But then you look at some other limited, right, where you don't actually need that much investment to actually make them really good. So, for example, the most recent released one, right? Eratos, unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to E3 her on this account. But you can see Eratos stats it's really all about just mastery and HP. Ignore what they say about speed. You don't really need speed, but you just need HP and mastery, which makes it a lot easier to build. Another hero on the limited side, I'll say Wukong is another great example. Yes, Wukong is going to be really good if you can get HP and crit damage and tenacity in there. All of that is going to make him like a crazy bruiser. But if you E3 him, just this passive alone, in terms of damage reduction, makes your team literally unkillable early on. Like, it's going to stop Eratos in terms of some of the damage coming through, because Eratos early on, they're not going to have that much mastery in it, right? And your Wukong is straight up going to immune all of that mastery. You're going to get that extra shield. So having like a Wukong and Nordak early on makes your team unkillable. So makes Wukong actually a really good pick for PvP early on, and that's not stats heavy. So if I were to work on a tier list in the future, I would definitely consider looking at, okay, what would be the tier list for new players? And I'll say on this, there's a couple ways to tell, right? One is the number of stats requirements for them and how easy it is to get those stats. So anything, I'll say, any hero, right? Even the limited hero we have right now, right? Moricus, right? Again, this is another great example where you gain, when you see things, you gain stats with equivalent of things like effective hit. Yeah, really hard to hit those kind of high benefit, right? Like a lot of these conversions are going to be really hard to get to. However, you look at a hero like Narch, right? But just comparing to the two bleeder. Early game, Narch is going to have an easy time because if you look at the passive here, it says like at exclusive 3, you're just going to be gaining these Raven's Guardian from taking turns. And you're going to get 175% mastery. Just because how little mastery you have, or your other stats are, like Narch just busts himself like crazy. And this is not stats. It's just part of the hero mechanics. So early on, you're going to find some of these heroes with self-buffing mechanics, especially flat additions, are going to be far more impactful. So because the ones that require percentage conversion, right, you're going to see a lot less from it. So for example, Little Jack. Early on, you might stack it with just attack and mastery. You won't, at exclusive 2, you're able to convert part of your mastery to your allies. You won't be really benefiting from a lot of that early on, just simply because you're going to be struggling to even get his mastery up there, right? We also talked about a lot of your mastery also comes from your sanctuary. I think you get from the base one, you get 55% mastery from your sanctuary. Oh yeah, for pay to play, Popper sucks. No, the reason why Poppers suck for you probably because your Popper speed isn't up there. This is also other part in PvP is a lot of the speed piece. Look at this Popper. 3200 plus an aura on Arena Dominate. So that's almost 3400. I have seen poppers over 3500. In order to secure that first turn, newer players, you're not going to be able to you just won't be able to experience some of that. I mean, relatively speaking, it's all about just being slightly faster. Like right now, you look at my team, I don't have to outspeed people with space. Right? This looks like a very intimidating team. I just need to take advantage of Atkins E1. So here you can see, here's another great example of Atkins is a hero that is a very stats heavy hero, right? You can see even if I level it to exclusive 3, I might have trouble getting the right stats on it to kill the main DPS with Atkins. But E1 is a mechanic that is not stats required. It allows me to get 20% turn meter on my allies whenever the enemy gets a layer of heal. So it's more important early game to focus on the mechanical components of a hero that gives you benefits that doesn't require stats. That's why things like Moshi early on is really easy to build. It's just attack and mastery, no effect hit required. You can just stack attack and get some mastery and it'll be fine. If you get a devouring set, that's even great synergy because all of the damage is considered a skill damage. That's why everybody loves Macken, because Macken, even though it says recommended effective hit, you don't need any effective hit on him to make him good. Right? On the other hand, you saw me struggle with Anna. After trying to make her work multiple times, I eventually give up. I'll probably need her at E3 for her to like be really impactful, which I'm not gonna, eye for her. I actually a few days ago talked about trying Barry out, and then eventually I realized this is not working either because for him to do a lot of damage, I need to actually detonate these. So for Barry to work, again, Barry's another trap, right? Barry, actually, ideally, you will be able to, you need really high stats to fully take advantage of it because you're going to gain crit rate as a percentage of his mastery. But and of course, the exclusive is going to, gain crit damage. it's a blend of attack. So he's going to be doing a mix of direct damage and HP burn. And when you throw that all in together, it's just so stats heavy that you just can't make these heroes work early game. Poison heroes like Veronica. Again, you're going to need enough effective hit to land those poisons. And I was struggling trying to use Veronica because I without scaling her up, it just the chance of landing the poison. So that's why fully scaling up heroes early on is important. But like by stage 30, everything's going to be like at 80% effective res already. So which means I need around 100 and for her, right? For somebody's 70% chance landing skills, that's about what? I will need close to maybe 110, 120 effective hit on a target that has 80% effective res, or more than that, more like 120 to 130 range, which you're going to have a hard time getting. If you're going to put that much effective hit on this hero, you can say goodbye to the damage portion as well. So that's why all of these heroes early on, like I was trying Astodon, like, oh man, that it's just a lot of the heroes aren't working out. However, if you look at the new heroes that are releasing, right? Here, let's look at Mercando in terms of what percentage of his damage. He's doing straight up attack damage to the enemy. This is considered as poison damage. Okay, so 20, this is 200%, that's ignoring defense directly. Now, Amercando is still doing a lot of damage that's requiring the dot. 2 layers of poison for 2 turns. Here, 2 stage where... so basically you're looking for damage, right? That, I think Morcus is a good example. The multiplier is a little bit low, but what I like about it is all these multipliers. It's all damage that, like, again, Morcus, you need to synergize it with a hero that can actually lands a lot of the bleed dots, right? But if you are doing damage that's directly without relying on the dots to land, that's where early game heroes will shine. Which actually means a lot of the older heroes that were introduced that were dot damage dealers, they're much harder to use. That's why, early on for Hazandra, like which everybody has, like you want to be in the 80 to 100% effective hit range, for you to land those HP burn consistently. This is also why a hero like Adeline, majority of the damage you can see, actually comes from the skill itself, as opposed to coming from landing the dots, which makes it far more effective. So I'm looking forward to actually get Adeline to E2. So hopefully this part of the discussion help you figure out, when you see why my hero isn't working, or why early game players, like I look at some content creator or look at these Kraken teams or whatever, and trying to say you want to push your dungeon and it's not working for you. A lot of it's stats related, and early on you just simply don't have enough stats to go around, and it's not because you're not farming enough gear. You're just simply not going to make, yes, blessing and gear that you purchase will help make up some of the gap, but sanctuary is something that's unfortunately going to take time, and it's going to be very expensive if you start trying to just buy summons to work your sanctuary up. I would just make sure that every week I'm taking advantage of the 5 double boost, and of course take care of that during the event. Use your energy up, and go through there, right? Easy heroes, I think I talked about as well. Elemental City is something that's going to take a while to progress through. I know this video is probably going to end up being much longer than I anticipated. I hope this has been helpful for a lot of you as you hear through these thoughts around. And I personally will be living through this myself, right? I'm going to be entering the next range, which is the 1 to 2 month mark very soon. So what I would say is on this new account, I'll definitely play all the way through to Ultimate Division. And hopefully, when I get to Ultimate Division, I'm gonna be in a position where um, I'm gonna be trying to get into the top 64 for championship, which is kind of, I guess, the pinnacle of PvP. Um, who knows what the game will be like a year from now, but that's kind of the goal here on this account. The budget, as you can see, we will be limiting the account budget here to 400 a month. As a content creator, you know that, you know, I get more, and I'm not going to be putting that on this account, just simply so that, you know, we're going to see what's doable with with a budget like that. I know $4,800 in a year is a lot, but at least it gives you kind of like an understanding of, you know, upper bound, what to really expect as you play through this game, and get a sense of, you know, what's feasible. And end of the day, games are all about having fun. Spend within your limit. Spend within your own budget. You know, it's not about you know, it's a game. End of the day, it's pixels. So you know, if you have any gambling or addiction, get help. That's what I'll say. To gotcha games and whatnot. With that, maybe some closing remarks and thoughts, right? I think the most important takeaway as we go through on this journey together on this new account is look at how I am focusing on the various events, right? Like you can see, I'm doing the exact same thing straight out of the account, like maxing out on the Voyage event, 6,400 gems every week. And you can see that's my gem count isn't that bad. I'm sustaining it around the same number. It's not going up. It's not like a Kraken account where I can actually get a little bit of surplus doing it. Like I would stay at around the same. It's just barely enough to sustain, as opposed to being able to accumulate maybe 10,000 gems a month, I will say, on the other account. On this account, probably there won't be that kind of excess, simply because one, in championship, right? On a season player, you can see your guild rewards. You're going to get a lot of gems, as I mentioned, being a top guild. We're not having that early on. The guild bosses, right? Right now, you can see hopefully about maybe 3 to 4 months in, I'm going to be able to do Guild 6 on the new account. But this is a massive source of gems every day, as opposed to level 5, which I'm around here. It all adds up, right? I think the new player, you know, you will get close, but the new players, is just that don't underestimate how big the gap is as you progress through the division. One of the things here, I'll show another thing here as well, is that if you go to the main Discord, there is information on Zone Merge, and I highly recommend you take a look at that. A lot of the this was last updated almost a month ago, but you can see majority of the new zones, they're usually not grouped together, right? This is server 100 to 102. So at that point in time, I would say maybe once you get to about 2 to 3 months is when your server starts actually get joined with other servers. Early on, you're safe. In the first month of gameplay, at most, you're going to be dealing with a group of 2 to 3 servers. Ultimate Division was like, I think, around here. Then the next division, so on and so forth, right? As you're experiencing, you know, the new player high, right? Especially if you spend a few dollars here and there. You can see, like last week, I finished on 4th on both Classic Arena and Advanced Arena. Haven't been doing that great in Championship because I've been always falling just slightly behind at improving my team. War of Thrones, I was able to finish, I think, Emperor. Well, I made it to Emperor. I think I finished the level below that for whatever reason. Maybe because I forgot to take a look at it the last day. Like, you know, you saw the level of investment, and if you just started out, you think, and you feel like, you know, with a lot of gacha games, you feel like, oh, if I just go onto a new server, I start whaling, and I'm going to be in the lead. I'm going to be really enjoying being first place. You know, we're all going to get a rude awakening in about 2 days on this server as we join the next division. So that means we're going to be competing now against several other servers that are in the 1 to 2 month range. I feel like every time we climb through this division, you're going to see a big spike in challenge and difficulty in a lot of the competitive space in PvP, or any ranking tiering system, which is going to be the reality of things. Please don't get discouraged. This is just meaning you're going to be now swimming in our bigger pool with bigger fishes around to compete against. The best way to prepare for that, if you're free to play, is just, if you're free to play, just focus on enjoying the game. Don't worry about the competition. There's far too many spenders in this game that it's more about just enjoying the game. And especially if you're just focused on PvE content, then what you really just need is you need a DMU, you need an Indra, you get a Lydia, or you work on your Lydia, your Santa, your Nordak, and your set. Okay, you can see that. I think there's a video on my channel where I pretty much staged, I think, almost everything with the exception of Grillin. Grillin, you can do it with Dharma, but pretty much all of the other contents I just blaster right through with DMU and Indra, right? All 40 stages of it. That's all you need. So if you're free to play, that's kind of your goal. If you're kind of a pay to win player, well, your experience is going to be a little bit different. So what you want to do is, as these different events come up, the gem event is a little bit more on the expensive side. The efficient times are, like, for example, for you to get to this particular chest, right? You're going to need to spend about $170, I believe. You need, like, all of the stuff. And that's been I think the norm. Like, the $170 to $180 is sometimes where you have these promo packs. They've gotten more expensive, but I think once a month at least, I think we'll see something where allow you to get a limited hero just for about $100 or less, or trying to get them on the journey events. You can usually get them for like anywhere between 66 to 86, depending on how good you are at and lucky you are at the particular event. And if you think about it, if I'm investing in this count to get all the limited heroes, and you don't even have to get some of the older ones, right? You can get them through the Rainbow Store. What I would say is you're going to be able to get some of the most impactful limited heroes. Like I would say, Wukong, Eratos is the new one that's very impactful. Beatrix is going to be using a lot of content, so maybe easier to show it on the other screen here. Right, here's all the limited heroes out here. There's Pauline, and so there's 11 right now. We're waiting for the next one probably to be released on anniversary. Heng is PvP. You don't really need Heng. Heng is, again, one of those heroes that's super, super high on stats requirement for it to be really strong. Bunny can be deprioritized, right? If we really think about the most impactful ones is Lydia, Wukong, Eratos right now. Those will be probably the top ones. Big Jack, right? It's you can use Rister, you can use a lot of other heroes to cover that gap. It's not a must-have. Beatrix is very stats heavy, something maybe once you get to Ultimate Division you want to consider. But right now, Santa is really impactful. I kind of actually regret picking Lydia as my first limited heroes. I should have picked Santa early on and picked up Lydia later. Lydia is something that you will start using and start seeing a lot more as you hit mid-game. And of course, probably should have mentioned this at the beginning. Okay, as long as you have this beginner diary up, you are not, I repeat, you are nowhere near Endgame. Okay, when you finish the growth handbook and the beginner guide, this is a tutorial. Okay, this campaign challenge is sort of like, if you're doing really well, here's some extra gear and Hazanja for you. I finished primary already. This is doable in the first month of the gameplay. Medium is going to take a little bit longer, mostly because Faction Abyss. Now, if you did actually okay on Faction Abyss and really did plan your regression well in the first week, you probably will be further along on this, and which means you can finish medium also probably within the first week or so. Like I should be able to clear 45 this week, no problem, this rotation of Elemental City, which means this is just more of a time gated content to as you finish your guild boss battles. Advanced will take you a little bit longer. Advanced require you to average around 33 on your dungeons. A little bit, you need 270 stages cleared, which will bring you very close to your E3 Agatha, if I recall correctly. That you will definitely get all that done before you hit Ultimate Division, hopefully. But not until this little bounty here. You have finished Advanced. You are nowhere near, okay, the end game. I would say you are into late game when you finish this completely. So world chat is world chat, right? There's a lot of people that are talking world chat, and this is not to to disrespect anyone by any means. I'll say is, find trusted help. I wouldn't even recommend the main Discord for that, unfortunately. Find a reputable guild, right? What you've noticed is, for my guild, I have actually brought everyone under the One's Hope flag, and of all the community out there, I find I find One's Hope, having spent some time there, and I've also spent time at Bowls, Mystic, as well, right? Of all the places, the One's crew, they're not the most competitive group, but I'll say they're the most laid back, friendly bunch that I've ever met. And I feel like with their willingness to help and all of that, it's a great home to be part of the bigger community. So for your guilds, highly recommend, right, to reach out to some of the seasoned players. Be part of one of those established communities. See if you can be part of a community guild, especially if you're newly starting out. I know whether it be Bulls, Bushido, they're always looking for new players to join their overall community. You will find a lot of help from seasoned players and help you make better decisions as you progress through the game. This game is complex. There's a lot of mechanics. Things are not exactly explained well. That's why I'm here. And there's a lot of traps to fall into. And I'm even figuring out some of them as I was going through the playthrough. Not saying that my first month has exactly been, flawless. There you have seen me regress, right? For example, early on, I underestimated how much effective hit hurts me. Like even things like space, right? To be able to land those slows, man, you need a lot of effective hit to be able to do that consistently. And I forgot, right? Because remember, when you have 50% effective hit coming out of your sanctuary, I've been pampered too much by the massive sanctuary. Even things like Mamook, you want to land an attack down, good luck without getting close to 100% effective hit. And man, it is so hard to get to 100% effective hit as a new player. Or trying to land some stunts with Fiona. Oh man, not happening. So many retries while I was trying to use Fiona to stun. Lydia, as much as I would say she's the top PvP hero compared to all rounder in terms of limited heroes, Man, so hard to get a Lydia working properly early game with the stats that I have. Uh, for all intensive purposes, right? I'm gonna just quickly show Lydia on this account. I know I'm dragging this out, but it's long anyways. I'll make sure there's table of contents, right? You're not gonna hit these kind of stats, okay? To be able to have this kind of effective hit crit, like to be able to do damage, to be able to go first, to be able to actually land CCs, man, that's a lot to ask for to build a Lydia like that. So Lydia again is you're going after the mechanic, right? Stop at exclusive 2. You're just really there for the CD refreshes. But maybe the cheaper option is actually exclusive 1 Marvel if you happen to have it. And I pulled Marvel pretty early on. So it was just a stupid call. I should have picked Santa. Like Santa E3, the Apple, is not stats required and is such a useful mechanic early on. Exclusive 1 to get that speed up for everybody. That is a nice speed up on 3-turn cooldown for everyone. Um, so and of course, so yeah, when you're looking at overall builds, like here, exclusive 2, it's about that AOE heal. Okay, it's that AOE heal and reduction of cooldown on freeze, especially extending that freeze. That's the mechanic you're looking for. So it's more about the mechanic. So hopefully I'll put all of this in the description. So TLDRs for people if you don't want to listen to like an hour-long podcast on this. But hopefully this video has been helpful. I continually appreciate all of your support. I hope this helps a lot of player out. Doesn't matter where you are on the journey, whether you're starting out in the division system in terms of you're really new right now, early on as you just started out, or you're kind of halfway through the middle. Just be mentally prepared for every single jump as you go through it. And I will think the last jump to Ultimate Division, where you're going to be faced with Krakens like this in the competition, it will be a bit of a rude awakening, especially if you're not prepared. So with that, I wish you all a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time. Gandalf out.